Hi, I'm Jessica Sittimer, and welcome to your Storyline Studio, where writers like you get to level up your craft and your career. All right, today we're talking about when you are writing, what your objective is. So I'm speaking today definitely to filmmakers, people who write scripts. Think about it if if you're writing a book that you're going to turn into a script. I wanted to share some ways of getting creative. So, the first story has to do with a pilot that I wanted to put together. And this was long before we had crowdfunding and all this stuff. I mean, this was 1997. So, we didn't even have we didn't have social media or anything. We needed $20,000 to do this pilot. And my business partner and I went out and asked 1,000 people for $20. And that's how we got it going. So it was a sitcom pilot. So we had to think about the least path of resistance to getting the most bang for our buck. So we created it in a bar. And the bar is kind of like Cheers. Almost everything took place in the bar. So we only had one set for the entire pilot, and it worked out great. So think about that. Another situation, I was doing a single camera comedy. It was a half-hour show, and we needed a park, but we couldn't get permits to use the park. And we didn't have money to, invest in all this. We were doing an independent television show, basically. And so we had to get creative. And in getting creative, I decided, well, let's find out how you could just use a park and film in a park. And one of the things we discovered was if there's a protest going on, that you don't need a permit. News can show up, anyone can show up. So I wrote it into the script that there was a protest. It was called Pause for a Cause, Pause for a Cause. And one of the main characters had a t-shirt company, which is completely irrelevant to the story. But the fact was that because of this t-shirt, it caused like a whole riot which is what we were trying to get to begin with. I needed to have a riot in a park based around this t-shirt. But the only way to be able to shoot in the park without getting permits was to have this protest. So we had a cat protest. So you really want to start thinking outside of the box ways for you to write things into your scripts if you plan on producing them yourself. And I hope as a writer that you are producing things for videos. You should have readings of pieces of your books that have been done. Do readings of, maybe do a table read of a script if that's what you're doing. You want to get your work out there. Like back in the day, it used to be the only way to get your writing read was to have an agent who was going to submit it to a publisher or to a studio. But now, these days, you can produce your own books. You can write them, you can publish them, you can produce your own scripts, you can film them. It's not the same expense that it used to be. So when you are writing these things, you want to think about what are the moments that I could be reading? What are those excerpts that I can be reading? What are those moments that I can shoot to get interest in my project? You can think about how, like web series, like how you can put it out and turn your book into a little web series that gets people curious about your characters. And as I said, you always want to think about how can you do this for the least amount of effort and money and time, but still have it be grabbing them. All right. So the takeaways from today are that you are going to think about ways to publicize your writing, your books that you've been writing, your scripts, and get creative with how people are seeing them. Get creative with if you're shooting videos and come up with creative ways that are different. Push yourself to imagine. So in my situation, yes, I needed a park. And no, we couldn't get permits. So I had to get creative about that. When you give your characters a dinner table, okay, that's fine. But what if you couldn't get that dinner table. Where could they be eating instead? But that's how you get your writing to really be interesting and unique. So I will leave you with that for today. Now go write.